Hey there, thanks for stopping by. This is StoryHub, and I'm Michael, a 55-year-old guy. Right now, I'm the proud owner of a garage that I built from scratch, which is pretty darn special to me. I kicked off my working life at 18, and after grinding away for 7 years under my uncle's wing, I managed to save up enough cash to open my own garage. Those early days were tough, no doubt about it, but I poured my heart and soul into making it work. Over the next 30 years, it grew into the place it is today. You might wonder if I ever fell head over heels. Well, I sure did, for Laura, back when she was in college. We hit it off at an auto show, and the spark was instant. We exchanged numbers and made plans to meet up. Since we lived in different cities, our only way to stay in touch was through phone calls. A few months down the line, we met up again, and this time, we ended the night at my place. She was amazing, and what made it even more special was that it was her first time. Tragedy struck a few months later when Laura lost her parents, and her college education was hanging by a thread. I knew right then she was the one for me, so I dipped into my savings to help her keep studying. She was so moved by this that she burst into tears and gave me a tight hug. 5 years later, she moved in with me and landed a job as a lawyer at a nearby firm. We decided to go hiking on a beautiful Sunday, and after a 3-hour climb, we reached the top of the hill with a breathtaking view of the city. Out of the blue, Laura got down on one knee and proposed. I didn't hesitate and said, yeah. 3 weeks after tying the knot, we had a small, intimate wedding where she slipped a ring on my finger and declared, from this day forward, you are mine forever. Those were some of the happiest times of our lives. Over the next 2 decades, we raised 2 kids, Sophia, now 19, and Benjamin, now 18. They're both out there carving their own paths. Sophia's wrapping up her college degree, while Benjamin's rocking out as the lead guitarist in a local band. Once they both flew the nest, I felt this deep sense of peace and satisfaction with my life. People always saw me as a bit of a roughneck, and I never got around to getting a higher education. It just wasn't on my radar. Around this time, Laura started changing. After 20 years of marriage, I thought I knew her inside out, her thoughts, her actions, even her lies. She started working crazy hours at her new job. She'd switched careers just over a year before, and it came with more money and a bit of glamour. Her new boss was a big-shot lawyer, famous for his courtroom battles. I never liked the guy, but I never thought I'd have to deal with him directly. After watching her for about 3 months, I finally reached out to Laura and asked about her late-night work. I'm usually a pretty nice and respectful guy, but that day was different. Laura had never seen this side of me before. It only took 20 minutes of tough questioning for her to break down and admit that she'd been sleeping with her new boss that I found myself pondering a simple question: why? You're the same woman I married 20 years back. You haven't changed a bit. You haven't improved yourself. You still wear those raggedy clothes, look rough around the edges, and aren't fit for social gatherings. I deserve better. I want someone I can stand beside as an equal. You always go along with what I want, never step up as a husband, and never take the lead like a real man should. I looked her straight in the eye and said, so, you're ready to walk out on me after 25 years of loyalty just because you can't show me off at your fancy parties? Is it because I don't control and mistreat you? Haven't I been a good husband? I not only helped you become a lawyer but also put our kids through college. Yet, suddenly, I'm not good enough for you. She tried to put on a tough front after that. You need to understand and accept the situation as it stands. I'm moving on with my new partner, and you should be happy for me. If you don't agree to my terms, I'll divorce you and strip you of everything you've worked for. Eventually, I'll take it all. Because of what I'm doing, you'll be dragged through the courts and spend the rest of your days shuttling between legal battles and the streets. And after that, I'll take away your most prized possession, the garage you've built over the years. You better start preparing for it. I leaned back in my recliner, trying to relax. You think you can use some shady legal tricks to take everything from me? She just smiled in response. I chuckled and shot back, good luck with that. She tried to speak up, but I didn't let her get a word in. I stood up and walked out of the house. The next morning, Laura was still there when I left for work. After I was gone, she called her lover. Hello, Matthew. What's wrong, sweetie? You look awful. Despite the strain in her voice, she said, Michael knows about us. He confronted me this morning. I told him the whole truth. This might make things tricky. It's not the end of the world, though. We've discussed this scenario before. I know we have, but when it actually happened, it stung. After all, Michael and I have been together for 25 years, married for 20, and raised 2 kids. What exactly did you tell him? I stuck to our plan. I didn't even try to deny it. You know I'm terrible at lying. I followed the script you gave me. I told him the truth, that you're a successful career woman, a lawyer, who's been married to a simple mechanic for most of her adult life. A man who never tried to improve himself. That for once, you wanted to be with a strong, dominant man, someone who matches your status, who can lead, not just follow your every whim. Yeah, that's about right. But don't be too harsh on him. He does run his own business now, and his work has supported our family, sending the kids to college and me to university. It's just that when we practiced it, it seemed like I deserved someone like you, but when he reminded me of all the emotional and financial support he's given over the years, it all felt a bit empty, you know. Did you lay it all out for him? That if he doesn't go along with it, the firm will back you completely in a divorce and leave him broke? Yes, I did, Matthew. The only issue is, he didn't seem to care about any of that. He just kept saying he couldn't believe I was throwing away our loyalty after all these years. I've got to admit, Matthew, it hurt. I tried to explain that I wasn't abandoning him, just that I felt I deserved something more, but I don't think he understood. I don't want to lose him, Matthew. A little extra, Jen. I'm insulted. You told me you loved my big honey. You said it took you to places his old hobby hadn't in years. Didn't you say you'd never experienced sex like that before? Yes, I did, Matthew, but remember, I wasn't very experienced when I married Michael. He was always so gentle. You, on the other hand, are so different, so commanding and intense. It just swept me off my feet. And it will keep sweeping you away, my love. Your husband will have to come to terms with the fact that you've added a new layer to your life. With you, he's no longer the top dog. I'm the alpha male now, and he'll have to deal with it. Still, I'd hate to think I've ruined a 25-year marriage. Here's what I'll do, I'll draft some documents and go see him this afternoon. Give me the address of his workshop. What kind of documents? Whatever I can come up with. You know the game we play with these guys, restraining orders to keep him away from you, me, and your home, papers to freeze his company's bank accounts. That's just the beginning. We'll bury him in paperwork he's not equipped to handle, or just bluff him out. Your little hobby is about to learn who's really in charge. It was nearly 2 p.m. when the dominant male showed up at my garage. Sir, may I come in? My name is Johnson. I know who you are. That'll save us some time. I'm guessing Laura told you this morning that our arrangement will continue indefinitely. What she didn't tell you is why you'll let it happen. I'd appreciate it if you'd let me set my briefcase down here. You might not know this, but I own the company Laura works for. That means I have over 20 lawyers at my disposal. And I can assure you, each one was chosen for their outstanding record in handling cases like this. More than half of them have experience in divorce law, and believe me, I won't hesitate to unleash all of them on you. The bundle I was preparing to file this morning is just the beginning. Here's a quick rundown. We're filing for divorce, and as you can see, your wife has already signed it. There's an order to freeze your company's finances until it can be sold as part of a settlement. This is an order giving you 24 hours to vacate the home you share with your spouse. And these 4 are restraining orders requiring you to stay at least 200 meters away from Laura, myself, her residence, and our workplace. What do you think is going to happen here, Mikhaili boy? I'll tie you up in so much legal red tape you won't be able to move. While you're stuck, you'll eventually give up when you realize you don't have a single penny left to hire even the worst lawyer in the world. And what do you think will happen from here on out? I'll keep being your wife's partner. I know you're bigger and stronger than me, but you need to understand that brute force doesn't rule the world anymore. Intelligence triumphed over physical strength long ago. To be honest, Mr. Johnson, it doesn't have to be this way. Not at all. Why don't we just keep things as they've been for the last 4 months? I'll have her whenever I want, and you can contact her whenever she wants. Why stir up trouble? One day, I'll get tired of her, and then she'll be yours again. That's my pitch. If she only needed you, we wouldn't be standing here, would we? My advice to you is to accept it, roll with it, and see it as an opportunity for personal growth. But I've got one piece of advice for you, buddy. You need to be more assertive with your wife, not by being the charming guy you tried to be, but by being the alpha male and telling her how it's going to be, just like I've done with you. I was able to take her from you. Rewind. Have you figured it all out yet? I can see that, like most of society today, you don't have a clue what the term alpha male means. Do you want a mechanic to explain it to you? Go ahead, tell me what it means. Well, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. With that, I took a half step forward and drove my right fist into the lawyer's face. There was a satisfying crunch of cartilage and teeth being dislodged. John slumped to the floor, back against the workshop wall, a look of absolute amazement clear on the undamaged part of his face. Consider that illustration number 1. Before the pain really set in, I lifted John to his feet and then immediately dropped him again with an uppercut to the diaphragm. This time, John lay on his side, struggling to breathe. And that is illustration number 2. Just as John's struggle was beginning to pay off, my steel-capped right boot stomped on the lawyer's outstretched hand, breaking the wrist as well as several bones within the hand. A boot to the chest temporarily brought my anger under control, breaking 3 ribs. These are illustrations 3 and 4. Yes, Mr. Alpha, it would be helpful if you could refrain from squealing. I'm trying to teach you something here. In high school, I made a promise to myself that I would never use my size and strength offensively. Thank you for making me break that promise today. Before you came in here and rubbed my nose in it, I was going to leave you out of the consequences of Laura's actions. But you changed my mind. I rested my foot on John's throat until I regained his full attention. I know even gentlemen have their breaking points. Now, let's get back to your lesson. The term alpha male comes from wolf packs. It's the one and only wolf who tells the others what to do. He might not be the smartest or even the biggest, but he's definitely the most vicious. He's the one who will kill without a second's hesitation. You, son, are nowhere near as ruthless as he is. He's relentless. In the world outside your air-conditioned office, you might be the leader of the pack, but out here, you're just another bumbler. And I wouldn't recommend you go around calling yourself smart. To your credit, you didn't even bring a witness. Let's look at the range of outcomes that could happen here. Your first option is to report this to the authorities. On the other hand, they might not arrest me at all. I could get released on bail, but they might not. They might charge me, but they might not be able to. That's a lot of maybes, Matthew. The worst-case scenario for me would be a 5-year apprenticeship in prison. During that time, I'd learn how to hurt people, how to kill them, and how to hide their bodies so no one would ever find them. And then, after I finish my apprenticeship, we'll have another talk like this one. Or, windbag, you can chalk this up to experience, use it as one of your learning experiences of what can happen when you mess with another man's wife, and learn from it. Now, I've got some cleaning to do, thanks to you bleeding and crapping yourself on my nice clean workshop floor. Alpha my ass. That evening, Laura called Matthew and said, "Matthew, I'm waiting at the office. Let me know when you're coming. I thought you'd be back a long time ago. What's going on? I've just been moved to a different ward in the hospital after spending 3 hours in the emergency room. What happened? Were you in an accident? No, it wasn't an accident. I underestimated your husband. I foolishly went to see him alone. He broke my nose, my left hand, a few ribs, and possibly even my cheekbone. I can't believe that. As far as I know, he's never been violent. It's true, believe me. If you want, I can show you the X-rays. It's hard to believe. You know that's not my Michael. How can I stop you from going to the police? Despite what he's done, we brought this on ourselves. It's not fair for Michael to go to prison over this. The police are already here. I told them a hit-and-run driver knocked me down. Your sweet and patient husband advised me that, despite my current predicament, this is just a down payment on what I can expect if I press charges. I can't risk getting hurt again. I've decided to keep my mouth completely shut. That's kind of impressive. It sounds like you're scared of him. I just can't believe it. Michael wouldn't hurt a fly. If you don't believe me, I can show you the evidence of my broken bones. I'm just doing what I have to do to survive, Jen. They've got me loaded up with pain meds, and they're starting to kick in. I have to go now. The next day, at Matthew's hospital bedside, Laura said, Matthew, you have to help me. Last night at 8 o'clock, I was driving around, unsure if it was safe to go home. I tried calling Michael, but he didn't answer. When I got to our house, all the locks had been changed, and I couldn't get in. I ended up staying at my sister's. This morning, I checked, and there's no money in any of our bank accounts, and none of our credit cards are working. You have to help me with this. Can you ask one of the divorce attorneys at work to start the process of temporarily removing Michael from the residence? Before that, can I stay with you? What do you say? Are you sure? Can I use the company's assets and resources to help you? He'll have a reason to come after me again. In fact, I'm going to be careful, Jen. You're fired. If you pack up and leave today, I'll give you an extra 4 weeks of severance pay. If you see Michael, let him know I've terminated your employment. You didn't hear me, did you? Michael has stripped me of everything. I'm stuck from the start because I have no money, no job, and no help from you. I'm sorry, Jen. You didn't see the look on his face when he beat me up. I'm doing what I have to do. Yesterday, you were boasting about being an alpha guy, but today, you're a pitiful person, trembling and stressed out because you're afraid my husband, who's 10 times stronger than you, is hiding under your bed. It's beyond me how I could have ever thought I'd be trading up by ending up with you. And you're completely delusional if you think I ever took a cheater like you seriously. That same day, Jennifer Johnson sat in her silent car on the side of the road, her credit cards declined and out of cash. It was only a matter of time before she ran out of fuel. I hadn't thought to cancel her phone service, or was I being calculatedly cruel? She was driving towards the city where her 2 children now lived, seeking refuge. In all the years, they'd never let more than an hour pass before answering her messages. She started calling them just after 10 that morning. She checked her messages once again, 0. I approached the lone woman on the side of the road in a beaten-up van and smiled to myself as I saw her. Laura grumbled, grabbed her useless purse, and stepped out of the car. She straightened her skirt and stepped to the side of the road, sticking out her thumb during the entire process. When I stopped the van beside her, she was shocked. She thought to run, but her body resisted, and she stood transfixed. I climbed down and invited her to get in. I wouldn't have defined myself as an alpha male, even though I was knowledgeable enough to realize that loners can never be described that way. I urged her to get the divorce paperwork ready, and I told her that there would be no alimony and no sharing in my assets. I also told her that everything I had would stay with me. We need to talk, Laura. Every single thing that you own is yours to keep. You are going to return all of the jewelry that I purchased for you. You are free to claim any reason you like as a basis for filing for divorce, as long as you are not a part of my life, I don't care. Following the conclusion of the divorce proceedings, you will leave the city and never return. In the event that my children are interested in seeing you, you are free to speak with them and meet them in my absence. By 10 o'clock in the morning, all of your belongings will be packed up and ready to be collected from the residence the morning of tomorrow. You are going to come and get it as well. If it's not collected by 11 o'clock in the morning, it will be set ablaze. Am I making myself clear? She gave a slight nod. When will I be able to get the papers? I asked her, and she said that it would take a week. I told her that it should be on my desk within the next 5 days, and she nodded. I looked at her once more, and she appeared to have seen a ghost. I smiled, asked her to get out of the car, and then I drove away. The following morning at 10:30 a.m. she had picked up her belongings. 5 days later, she did produce the paperwork, and the reason for the delay was cited as being irreconcilable differences. I smiled. A few months later, I was a free man. I regret that my marriage broke down. I regret that Laura did not understand the meaning of being loyal. I regret that she thought that I could not change my clothes and become a presentable husband. She did not understand that she could get seriously hurt if a 6 feet 5 inches guy tried to dominate her in bed. I would have tried to save my marriage, talk to my wife, but she chose to threaten me with consequences. Now, that is a point of no return for me. I shall continue to live my life by myself, and it is possible that I will pass away by myself at some point in the future. After all, every apex predator passes away by themselves. For the time being, I would like to ask you, dear listener, to please click on the subscribe button if you have made it this far. It will be of tremendous assistance to you.